Iblis volunteered that if he can come with the angels to kill these corrupted jinns on the earth, and Allah Azza wa Jal gave him permission. Suddenly Allah reveals to the angels and He says, I am about to make on the earth a Khalifa. Now Iblis is a creation of God. Iblis is a creation of God. Iblis is a jinn. Iblis is, he's made of fire, which the Quran talks again in several places that he's made of fire. But where did Iblis come from? And were there the likes of Iblis before? So the Mufassirun have commented. Again, this is based on those narrations that I talked about earlier. And what Allah Azza wa Jal did is that He created a whole creation of jinns that were on the earth. And this you will find in many of the early Mufassirun have commented on this. He created them on the earth and they had got taklif. Now what is taklif? Taklif is that God's now given them a responsibility to recognize Him. Now when Allah gives responsibility to creation, He will send messengers. So what Allah did is that He sent jinn messengers. So before there was human messengers, before Adam alayhi salam, who was the first human messenger, there were many jinn messengers that Allah Azza wa Jal sent to them. Now the jinns are made of fire, and the jinns, one of the things they have inside them, being fiery is that you're angry and you're hasty, you're fast, you're very powerful. Now the sifat and the qualities that the jinns have between them is that they are in fights and they are in quabbles and they are in superiority and who can prove who's greater. This is one of the nature of the jinns, and they're always in the spirit of challenge. Now there are good jinns. Allah Azza wa Jal has said that in Surah Jinn itself. He's talked about two different groups of jinns, and He said the salihun, and there's those who are pious and those who are not pious. Now the ones that were on the earth were both types, and messengers came down. But the messengers in the many numbers were killed by the jinns on the earth. And there was great corruption that prevailed on the earth. There was great corruption that prevailed on the earth. Now there was one notable jinn that was very pious. Iblis, being who he was a good jinn, and he started to worship God to the extent, because jinns could fly, see, and jinns could go through many of the heavens. They could go up and down. They didn't have to stay on the earth. They could travel up. It was only when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came that they were trapped within this first universe. This is clear from the Quran. This in Surah Safat you will find this. In Surah Jinn you will find this. That Allah did not allow them to go beyond the first heaven, or the first heaven meaning the end of this universe. They can't go past that after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam became a prophet. But before that they could go above that. So what happened is that on these travels, Iblis proved himself that he was so close to God. And Allah Azza wa Jal then allowed him to get closer and closer to higher and higher basically. And they say in some of these narrations that there was no space in the heavens was left, like no large space was left in the heaven, but Iblis had gone there and he had worshipped God. So he was a very, very, very close, you could say jinn, servant jinn, however you want to put it, to God. Until then, Allah Azza wa Jal allowed him to come in the company of the malaika, of the angels. And he got the chance to be in the company of the malaika. Allah decided that He's going to send the angels down to the earth and to banish the mutamarrideen, or those jinns that had causes a lot of corruption on the earth. So this group was going to come down and they're going to kill many of these jinns that were just out of control. Iblis volunteered that if he can come with the angels to kill these corrupted jinns on the earth, and Allah Azza wa Jal gave him permission. So he came and they killed a lot of these jinns. They left only a few on the earth, and from these few again the progeny of the jinns would start. Now Iblis returns back. Now many, maybe hundreds of years, I don't know, whatever is going by, because jinns have very long lives. They don't have short lives that the human beings that, we only have 60, 70, 100 years. They have hundreds of years. Perhaps they could have a few thousands of years of living. Now you've got Iblis that has gone down there, that has banished these jinns, most of them who are corrupted on the earth, and is returned back with the angels. Now he was with the angels, but Allah makes it very clear that he was not from the malaika, he was from the jinn. Now why Allah makes that clear is because we understand that no malak or no angel can ever disobey Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah's made it in their nature not to disobey Allah, but a jinn can. So the biblical sources, they've now faltered again. They call it a fallen angel. So what they say is that if an angel decides to go against the will of God or the command of God, then that angel, Allah drops him from the rank of the angels, and now he becomes a fallen angel. That's the biblical sort of side, or what some of them believe. The Muslims don't believe that. No angel can ever disobey Allah Azza wa Jal. So that's where we find that Iblis was able to disobey Allah, because he wasn't from the malaika. Now there's one thing here. Why is it that Iblis is now going to disobey God? Now you've got to understand the whole thing behind the creation of Adam alayhi salam. Suddenly Allah reveals to the angels and he says, I am about to make on the earth a Khalifa, or someone who will take command, second in charge, or someone who will rule again, reign after the last reigning. I'm about to make a Khalifa on the earth. Now when Allah said that, Iblis got really happy, right? He must have got really happy. And you know why? Because Iblis knows that the angels are not the ones who are going to rule the earth. If there's anyone, there's going to be the creation from the jinns. Allah is going to now make a Khalifa perhaps from the jinns. But Allah's decision wasn't that He's going to make a Khalifa or a vicegerent from the jinns. His decision now was that He's going to create this new creation. Now this shocked Iblis, because all these years that Iblis had worshipped Allah and had been so good was because he wanted power, he wanted prestige, he wanted to be in charge of the earth, he wanted to be, come back on the earth, and he's going to be sent perhaps as a messenger, or he's going to be sent with a new command of God on the earth, or he's going to be in charge of the jinns on the earth. There's something beautiful that's going to come for Iblis, something that he had a big glimmer and a big hope in, and all that was getting crushed now with this new creation. Now who is this new creation?
وحنيني قلتها والله شاهد باللي في حبك يا جاهد أدعي المولى بتكلف إني في حبك يا جاهد.
But who were these supernatural beings?
Many of these Hindu gods did look different than humans. Generally, they're often depicted as having blue skin, and that may well be describing extraterrestrials.
Could Hitler have been aware of these same ancient accounts? Might that have been the reason behind Nazi Germany's archaeological and scientific trips to India and Africa?
The Nazis were looking for something. They were looking for some kind of technology that the ancients possessed, that we had lost, and they wanted to find it, and they wanted to find it fast.
Throughout the Middle East and also in ancient India, there's stories of jinn, these genies. They've got magic powers, magic lamps, flying carpets and things like that. So in my mind, it's quite possible that this ancient jinn are really the ancient aliens with all their technology and aircraft.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك لا شريك لك لبيك.
Perhaps the most amazing technological advancement in the history of mankind was placing a man on the moon. On July 20th, 1969, less than 25 years after the end of World War II, astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin stood on the surface of an actual alien world. But how did such a technological leap forward happen so quickly? And could it possibly have been tied to ancient technologies discovered by Germany?
If you think about all the technology we have today, there isn't anything that either wasn't invented during this period of time or greatly enhanced by the Germans during the Reich years. The Germans pretty much invented our modern world.
Following the end of World War II, many of Germany's top scientists, engineers, and technicians were captured and brought to America as part of a secret project known as Operation Paperclip.
Operation Paperclip was a U.S. government project to bring German scientists to the United States to work either for the military or for industry.
They were taken into custody, they were granted asylum, they were brought to the United States. Their horrific war crimes with concentration camp victims were expunged.
The most important and influential of these former German scientists was Dr. Wernher von Braun, the commander of Germany's Peenemünde Space Research Center.
Von Braun was really the developer of the V-1 and the V-2 rocket. He was a member of the Nazi Party. His commanders were SS generals. He was privy to some of the most secret projects that Nazi Germany was developing during the war.
Once in America, von Braun quickly established himself as the leader of the U.S. military's burgeoning rocket program. He would eventually become one of the key architects of NASA.
In fact, the first rockets that the United States was launching out in New Mexico were essentially the V-2 rockets. In fact, I think the only real difference was that we'd taken the swastikas and the iron crosses off.
The whole space race almost seems like a joke as I look back on it, because the fact is there wasn't an American rocket program versus a Russian rocket program. We had a German rocket program. We didn't have an American rocket program. There's no question as you look at NASA, there's no getting to the moon without von Braun and the other German rocket scientists.
In many ways, the American government has just carried on what the Third Reich was doing, building underground bases and factories, developing secret technology. And this technology was also in ancient times too, and it's the same technology that was used in the Vimanas.
In 1970, UFO researcher Alan Greenfield claims to have met rocket expert Wernher von Braun while examining declassified files at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
And I said to him, how did you develop that much technology so fast? And he looked down the rows of UFO files and he said, we had help from them. And I said, you mean them, meaning the aliens? He said, yeah, we had help. We all got help from them. And that was like the eye-opening moment.
SS Commander Heinrich Himmler brought in psychics and mediums who claimed they could contact extraterrestrial beings. One of these was an influential member of the Vril Society named Maria Orsic.
Maria Orsic headed a group of women known as the Virilikin, or the female Vril members, and they were beautiful women. They grew their hair very long because they felt like their long hair could act as an antenna to the universal Vril energy.
They believed that extraterrestrials, non-human force, was right here on planet Earth. And they were the ones who inspired the early technology to develop circular-shaped craft based on images that they'd seen of flying saucers. They inspired Schaumburger. They inspired other developers to look into the possibility that these disc-shaped craft could fly through some sort of anti-gravity, some sort of levitation. The Germans were able to develop a technology so far in advance of the Allied technology that people said they were helped by extraterrestrials. In fact, the one quote we have was from Hermann Oberth. And Dr. Oberth was in the German rocketry program. Hermann Oberth said, quote, "We were helped by people from other worlds."
What follows is a celestial phenomenon that is attracting attention worldwide. It concerns ongoing sightings of luminous star-like phenomenon, too large and bright to be confused with a known celestial body, while exhibiting changes in size, location, color, and magnitude, as well as duration. These attributes rule out the possibility of near-Earth objects, asteroids, comets, and supernovas as potential sources. Beginning in January 2009, sightings have been reported from Norway, Costa Rica, the United States, Ukraine, Japan, scores of countries to date. There are many newspaper and TV reports.
UFO sightings may be the stuff of films and TV shows, but they keep turning up.
Edivaldo Nunes, domingo, e objeto voador não identificado chamou a atenção de moradores do conjunto universitário.
Cuando hay una luz muy grande, muy resplandeciente, que no es normal verla en el cielo.
And YouTube reflects hundreds of videos capturing the event. Sightings to date don't correlate with sky maps, so are unknown to science. Celestial phenomena such as these are unprecedented, and yet, with consistent reporting over these many months, an explanation remains elusive. Another element of the story makes it equally compelling. Many witnesses report that they deeply question the meaning and purpose of what they have seen and are amazed by the sheer beauty of the spectacle. Yet, there is one man who believes he knows the true meaning of this star, and in fact, predicted its appearance in December of 2008. Benjamin Creme, British author, editor, and artist. Beyond the science and even the spectacle, his perspective on this phenomenon makes the most compelling aspect of all.
4 great star-like luminaries of gigantic power. They are not stars, but they look like stars. You can also see an interesting sequence of photographs of the star from all over the world. And it changes shape. It becomes to look more like a spacecraft than a star, and then back to a star, and so on. It depends how deeply you zoom into it. And you will find people who don't even know what they're looking at say, "What is this? I've never seen anything like it. It's gigantic, it's changing colour. Look, look, look. It's extraordinary. Is that fire coming out of it? Look at it. It's moving, it's disappearing." And these stars are the herald of Maitreya.
According to British author Benjamin Creme, Maitreya, a teacher of extraordinary stature, is here in the world to inspire us to make the fundamental changes that will usher in an unprecedented golden age of brotherhood and justice.
That our solar system is made up of 12 members. And this is stated in the Sumerian text over and over and over again, not one time. And they say there is the sun, which is in the center, not like the Greeks or others thought that the earth is in the center, the sun. There's the moon, which they gave reasons why they considered it a member by its own, and 10, not 9, but 10 planets. Therefore, I'm very happy that when today astronomers look for this planet, they call it Planet X. They mean maybe the unknown planet, but it's also the 10th planet. They called it Nibiru, which means planet of the crossing, and the ancient symbol was the cross, not from Christian times, but from 6,000 years ago. And they say that this planet, the 12th member of our solar system, has a very large orbit of 3,600 years, and every 3,600 years it comes between Mars and Jupiter close to us. And it is then, they said, that people that look like us, not with little horns or green, people that look like us. Why do they look like us? We look like them. Because if you know the Bible, which is based on the Sumerian tales, at some point they engaged in genetic engineering and mixed their genes with the genes of Homo erectus. We can use various scientific terms, but let's say with early hominids, to bring about Homo sapiens, us.